Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to AI for Customer Discovery, Unlock Key Market Opportunities. My name is Michelle Eisenberg, and I am a program assistant here at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide by improving inclusion, access, and knowledge in entrepreneurship. So, as you will see in the chat in a moment, the NASDAQ Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to entrepreneurs across all races, industries, and geographies. So, definitely make sure to check out those links and resources in the chat. And then just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First, let us know where you are dialing in from in the chat. And second, we are going to open up for live Q&A at the end of the event. So please make sure to submit your questions for us in that Q&A function at the bottom of the screen throughout the presentation, and we will try our best to get to all of them. And of course, none of what we do could be possible at the center without all of the amazing support from our sponsors, including NASDAQ, Lehigh University, BMO, Airbnb, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, BPM, and HubSpot for Startups. We are humbled by their contributions and hope you are grateful too. And so before we get started, we are going to launch just a couple polls. Like we like to step back and see how everyone in the room is doing today. So this first one is going to ask, how are you feeling? Fearful, anxious, surviving, or optimistic? And we'll give it just a couple moments here for folks to submit a response. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm going to end this poll and share these results. Awesome. All right. Looks like optimism in the lead, but we do have some feelings of survival in the audience. I'm super hopeful that our conversation today will be helpful in that area. So I'm going to stop sharing this poll and launch the second one. What is keeping you up at night? Finance, sales, marketing, scale, pivot, team, or surviving? And this one just helps us understand your current needs as an entrepreneur a little bit better so we can make sure we are continuing to develop purposeful programs and resources for all of you. And I'll give it just a couple moments here. Awesome. We got folks from DC, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, San Mateo, Los Angeles. Welcome, welcome. So great to have you all joining in with us today. New York City. Awesome. All right, I'm going to end this poll and share these results. All right, looks like sales just barely coming up in the lead, but we got needs all across the board. So thank you all for sharing, super helpful. I'm going to stop sharing this poll, and without any further delay, please join me in giving the warmest welcome to our special guest, Dr. Nadia Boutaoui, PhD and founder at CEO at NanoNares. Dr. Nadia, it is such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to pass it right over to you.
Hello, everybody. I am super excited to be here with you all. And thank you for the Entrepreneurship Center for the invitation, for the opportunity to give back to the entrepreneurial community within the US and beyond. And with that, I'm going to share my screen here. Make sure I have the right window. Give me one moment. There you go. 1 second. Thank you for your patience here. AI for business. I want to start from the very beginning so you don't have to go through all of my intermediate. All right, I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, did you want to share your
Can you
screen?
see my screen?
Perfect. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Hello again, everyone, and thanks for taking time on first hour after a long week, and I appreciate you being here. And my goal today is to show you how to move from being overwhelmed with customer discovery and not knowing where to start, to learning how to leverage AI in customer discovery so you can de-risk your startup and develop products people want. So briefly, our agenda will be going over customer discovery, how important it is for startups to de-risk your startup, and strategies to enhance it with AI, and how you can align your offer with customer needs with AI. As you know, the number two reason for startup failure is there is no need, market need for the solution. Actually, 35% of companies fail because no market need. And AI can help, and customer discovery can help you de-risk by gaining insights about the market need before you develop the solution for the problem you're seeking to solve. So first, what is customer discovery? It's the initial and iterative process to understand the customer situations, their need, their pain point, define target personas, and conduct interviews and gain insights, action insights from those interviews. Why is it important? It helps you de-risk your startup or idea. By validating your assumptions, you avoid building products no one wants. By adopting a customer-centric approach, you align your product with the customer needs. And in doing so, you gain a competitive edge because you stay ahead of the market. You gain insights about trends before others. And it also allows you to have better engagement that lead to product market fit. So let me zoom out again a little bit to give you a big picture on how you can move your ideas to make the impact that we are all after, and where does customer discovery fit in within that framework. We use what's called translation canvas to evaluate ideas for impact. We start with the problem, then the stakeholders that make the ecosystem that you're going into develop a solution, its benefit, the value, not the features, who is your competition, and what makes you different. And customer discovery fits within the first three steps of this process. So if you start with the problem, it needs to be meaningful with an unmet need. You need to have the passion to solve that problem, needs to play to your strength, and has somewhat low competitive risk and high impact. Why is starting with the problem key? The key to success and increasing your adoption is what we call problem first design thinking. You start with your assumption about the problem, and maybe the solution why is a good way to solve it. In fact, companies that adopt this problem first design thinking outperform the S&P 500 by 200% over a period of 10 years. And that was a study done over 250 startups. So it works. To give you a sense of why starting with problem works, let's take Netflix. The founder of Netflix was experiencing a hefty delay in his DVDs that were not returned on time to Blockbuster. So for a DVD that he rented for $1, he had a late fee of $40. And he was ashamed to tell his wife. So he thought there gotta be a better way to get and watch movies. So the traditional one was go into the video store, which is painful. You have to run the video. To run the video, you need to drive to the store, browse, wait in line, pay late fees, in his case, $40 if it's not returned on time. So he thought, what if I get the videos to my home? And that's how Netflix started. So he started with a problem and tried to find a solution for that problem. Now, let's get to the stakeholders, the people that make up the ecosystem. A lot of people, when they think of their customers, they are thinking their end users. However, in order to move your ideas to the market, you need several stakeholders that make the ecosystem map, including the end users who care about the ease of use, the cost of and implementation effort. However, other stakeholders, such as influencers, they care more about the knowledge of the product, their reputation, and what's in it for them, whether directly or indirectly. The decision makers is a big one. They care about costs, safety, and the ease of implementation. And one that I see a lot of people miss is the saboteurs. They care about the status quo. They also care about their reputation and what's the impact of that change. Would your solution change the status quo that they're comfortable about? Or would it make them obsolete? So always think about each of these stakeholders and put yourself in their shoes and what's in it for them. What do they care about? And that's key when you are approaching them during customer discovery. Once you identify your customers, customers are always heterogeneous. So find a way of dividing them, excuse me, by need, by emotional, social, and functional ways. And when you do those 3 steps, you start with the problem, you identify the stakeholders and what they care about, and you segment them. And you can position your solution as the bridge between the problem and the benefits of your technology. And this allows you to tailor your value proposition because you know your segment and you have the confidence in your value proposition, and it allows you to stay focused. In fact, having customer discovery data is de-risking your startup, especially in early stages, which are the pre-seed and seed stages, that when you are pitching, when you're going to pitch competition, it's going to give you that competitive edge. In my case, for NanoNares, we won first place in the life science MICAN competition because we had very clear value proposition that was based on customer discoveries from 50 interviews we conducted with experts in the field. So what does customer discovery involve? What are the steps? The first is to understand the customer pain points. How painful is the problem? And the other thing is, how big is the problem? Is it big enough to justify developing a solution and sustaining a business? You also need to define and prioritize personas, those functional groups, either by situation, and not only find out what they think, but how they feel and what they're doing. That leads you to the interview itself. And that helps you. It's a 360. It helps you discover, learn, but not to validate your opinion. You're putting a hypothesis and testing whether it's valid or not. There are other ways like low cost, low fidelity testing and customer journey mapping. But for the rest, for the sake of time, we focus on the first 3 steps here today. So the question I get a lot, what are the key elements of successful customer discovery? Once you identify your target customers and stakeholders, that's step 1, you need a 360 interview with different stakeholders and be more open-minded and listen more than you talk. You never lead with your solution. That's a big mistake a lot of people do. By asking open-ended questions that allows customers to share their thoughts and opinions without selling them anything. The other thing that I see a lot whenever there is a pause, people don't know what to do. Embrace those pauses because the person you're interviewing is thinking, and look at for their body language, their feeling, how they feel when they talk about that problem, because 80% of communication is in the body language, in the tonality, and so on. Once you get that data, you need to analyze it to gain insight. Look for sentiment analysis. Is there a pattern that comes over and over again? And how bad or stressful that situation is? And how is the existing solution? Are they happy about it? Are they unhappy about it? Because that will inform your decision-making when you turn those insights into action. There are a lot of misconceptions about customer discovery, especially early stage first-time founders. A lot of people think customer discovery is a one-time and done. That it's done done at the beginning of a startup journey. It's a checkbox that you do and you're done. In reality, as I showed you, it's a continuous process that will increase your chances of success, that will engage your customers, that will become your ambassadors. So it should be an ongoing process throughout the product development cycle. Other people think customer discovery is only useful for startups. However, data show that the most successful businesses are the ones that benefit and engage their customers early and often throughout the product and service development cycles. Let me share a couple of examples of a great company that embraced customer discovery and a 180, another one that didn't. We all know Slack. Put in the chat if you use Slack regularly for your communication in the workplace, please. So Slack, their value prop is they transform the workplace communication. So the key strategies that they use, they are user-centric in their development. They seek feedback during beta testing, and they update their offering based on the feedback and the needs of their customers. And not only that, by building a strong community, they can gather insights and foster customer loyalty, increasing the lifetime value for each customer. As a consequence, Slack was founded in 2013. Within less than 8 years, they had a high adoption and satisfaction, rapid growth, and market penetration. And they went IPO in 2019 and acquired by Salesforce for close to $28 billion in 2021. So putting the customers at the center of your product development and engaging them throughout the product development cycle works. Let's take another example of a company that didn't do customer discovery. Quirky was the invention platform. Their value proposition is that you can submit your inventions and they can match inventions with problems to solve. They were funded in 2009 and they raised $180 million. However, they launched products without validating demand. They had poor market research and didn't incorporate customer feedback. As a consequence, they had operational inefficiencies, financial losses, and lost trust, what we call brand dilution, with their customers. They filed for bankruptcy within less than 6 years. So these two examples show you that customer discovery works. Take time to understand the problem you're solving, who is affected within that ecosystem, so you can develop solutions for problems that people want to solve. Now you may ask, how can we enhance customer discovery with AI? Here's a brief example of the value that AI can offer in business. Before I move to this section, any questions for the importance of customer discovery? You can put a yes or no. Do you think customer discovery is critical for startups? Yes or no in the chat, please. Thank you. So when it comes to AI in business, I see 3 areas that it can bring a lot of value. It can enhance decision-making by making better decisions, which segment, which process, which partnership or go-to-market to go after. It will help us allocate our resources and improve our operational efficiencies. And this, in turn, will help us save time. And by saving time, we can improve our customer experience. And whenever there is a rush to implement tech, humans, we are wired for real connections. So by leveraging technology and saving time so you can put in more love towards your customer experience, that is a huge competitive advantage for years to come. And by tailoring that customer experience, people will come to you instead of your competitors. I know, however, these areas cannot be applicable in all businesses across the board. So my question to you, what area in business do you think AI brings you the most value? Is it one, enhanced decision making, which is clarity? Two, operation efficiency, optimization of processes? Or three, better customer service by leveraging and repurposing our content, for instance, to tailor our messaging to our customers. So you can put in the chat 1, 2, or 3, please. However, I see a lot of misconceptions about AI, especially when it's early stage, pre-seed, pre-revenue companies, likely with less staff, that AI may replace all jobs, that it's going to replace me, I'm not going to have a job, and so on. Yes, a lot of jobs that are low value are likely to be replaced by AI moving forward. However, a lot of jobs require a level of emotional intelligence, creativity, and human connection that AI cannot replicate as of today and in the near future. Another thing is AI is only for tech giants. There are a lot of no-code or low-code solutions out there that has the lowest barrier to entry for a lot of people, for startups, including solopreneurs. So AI is not exclusive for big tech companies. There are ways you can leverage existing tools so you can benefit from AI in your business. For instance, in my case, AI saves me at least 3 hours per day. And when you factor in that per year, that's over a month. My question to you, if you had a extra month saved, what would you do with that? You can put that in the chat and I'll be reading those at the end of the presentation. So what would you do with that extra month per year if you are to save at least 3 hours per day? So before we move in to the next hands-on part, a use case on how I use AI to gain clarity on my ideal client, I'd like you to, this exercise, if you are to do it at home, you can set 10-minute timer and then do a brainstorming session for 5 minutes and then review the results in another 5. So you can always put the human touch to it. I chose ChatGPT because it's the most used AI out there for different applications. And it got to 1 million users within 5 days, which was the fastest until Threads came out. But that's a different story for another day. So I want to share in this example, how can you gain clarity on your ideal client using ChatGPT? So as I mentioned, set 10 minutes max, and you can do this exercise in 5 minutes. The first step of this exercise is what's called priming. And priming provides relevant context for ChatGPT to set the stage for that conversation with the AI chat box. So in priming, what you do, you are given a context about what you do, what product or service you're developing or selling, what does it do, and details of the service. It could be features and values and so on, value that you bring to your customers. And then what's unique about it? All of those are assumptions, so you can test them in a conversational way. And the key here is to look deeply in the inner conversation that your ideal client have with themselves. And you want to use these answers for segmentation, for marketing, for your messaging, and so on. So you will understand your target customers at a deeper level. Here's an example of a product, AI business mastery and a community that I'm developing. So I'm an experienced innovation business strategy, selling AI for business membership and so on. The features for that membership, what makes it unique, what makes us different from others, and so on. And here is the results. This is the priming. We set the stage. The next step is I want to know who would be my ideal customer profiles or ICP. So it goes beyond the demographics and psychographics, their goals and values, their hopes and dreams, and what they aspire to be in the future. And when asking this question, here's what I got. I got only 4 out of the 6 for the, so it's readable, but it gives me what industry, what's their demographics, psychographics, goals and values, and so on. And I wanted to go a little deeper. Think of this exercise as an onion that we are peeling the layers, and with each layer, we're going deeper and deeper and deeper to understand our target customers. So the next, beyond the psychographics and the demographics, I want to know what are their fears and frustrations, their challenges and problems? What makes them feel angry or disrespected? Do they have any technological proficiencies? What opportunities would that enable them to have? And what content should I create to reach them? And what channels are they on? So you see, you're moving from the demographic, psychographics to deeper level. And in doing so, it adds to that table. So by the end of this exercise, you have a better understanding of the challenges, the demographics, psychographics challenges, and what they aspire to be. You can take it even further. What would be the transformation within the timeline, within 1 year, 5 years, and so on, within the business and within the personal life? If, for instance, within the business, it makes you advance faster, saves you time, that gives you more time to spend with loved ones, to go to that soccer game. My 2 boys play soccer, or to go volunteer at school and so on, or whichever, is within your zone of genius or what you love to do. So I hope with this exercise, before I move to the aligning the offer with your customer, do you have any questions, or do you see the value of doing this brainstorming session with ChatGPT to hone in on your ideal customer avatar? You can put yes or no in the chat. And to take it even further, now, especially if you have the latest version of ChatGPT, you can take each of those customer avatars and then do a mock interview, customer interview using voice. And when doing voice, and you can ask it, act as an experienced iCorp mentor and mentor me on performing these customer interviews, ask me gaps. What did I miss? What did I do well? And this way you can train for customer discovery even before meeting a single customer. So I encourage you to be creative when it comes to using these tools. Set your goal, in this case, our customer discovery, and then reverse engineer. What do I need to do? What steps do I need to take to get to that goal faster? And remember, you are the driver of the engine. AI is the engine that can take you places to your goal faster. However, you are the driver. You can steer the wheel in the direction that you want. And the key is embrace your creative side and remove the blinders about the possibilities. One example that comes to mind from mentoring a urology company, we thought that our go-to market to grow is within the PCP, the primary care physician market. However, after doing the customer discovery, we found a completely different market that has more potential, which is the PT market for that particular technology. And it was only because we were open to test different stakeholders and different players that gave us insights that we were not aware of. That was different hypothesis than what we started with. So next, how do we align with customer needs with AI? Now, what we have this data from customer discovery, how do we align that with our customers? I always think of put myself in the shoes of the customers, and they're going through a journey. And when they are going through that journey, I imagine what are they experiencing at different stages of that journey, and then tailor my messaging, tailor my offer, tailor how I talk to them based to where they are. Meet them where they are. So in the customer decision journey basically is few stages. It starts from like awareness, engagement, conversion, and retention. In the case of AI, for example, many people are in the awareness stage. So knowing what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what they're doing at that stage and tailor my messaging to that stage is critical. It would be different from somebody who's already ready to buy the product or somebody who's already in your word and you retain them. So the conversation will be different at each of these stages. And AI can help you personalize to meet them where they are. So this is an example of, again, meeting my customers where they are when it comes to AI for business. What they are thinking is that they're thinking, I'm going to have a missed opportunity. I'm concerned about missing out on AI. They are questioning, how do I leverage it? How do I keep up with it? How do I implement it? They have doubts of the solutions. Am I doing it correctly? And above all, they are overwhelmed. They feel overwhelmed. So the first part is what they're thinking. The next level is how they are feeling. They feel overwhelmed by the amount of information and the speed of AI development. They have the pressure to adapt. So they're stressed out about the need to integrate AI. And they have uncertainty and they're anxious about the right way to leverage it. So in learning how they are feeling and how they are thinking and feeling, I can, for instance, most of my target ICP, ideal customer persona, are in the awareness phase. A key to messaging people at the awareness phase is to give them something that alleviate that anxiousness, that alleviate that overwhelm. And that's how I created the AI for business blueprint for business leaders. It speaks to them. It's based on their messaging, on their content, what they're thinking, feeling, and doing. And that has multiple advantages. The first one, a key pillar in business, is to have your own email list. Don't rely on third-party social media. It's rented space. It can go down anytime, and your business will struggle. However, when you have your own email list, not only you attract the right audience to your worth, but you engage with them. You warm them up, you get feedback from them, you give them early access, you beta test, and so on, directly without an intermediate platform. So in doing so, my landing page for this AI blueprint for business leaders has a conversion rate of 80%. An excellent conversion rate by standard in marketing is 60%. However, taking the time to identify and deeply understand your target customer increases your conversion. And I did use AI to help me with the design and the copyrighted parts for the landing page. Not only that, once you identify their pain points, you can create long-form content that speaks to their pain points. In my case, is AI in business and in drug development. So my newsletter, Innovation, Business, and Leadership on LinkedIn, speaks to those pain points. And not only that, it attracts the right audience and it positioned me and my startup as the right person to solve those problems when the time comes to launch the product. And by growing your brand, you also grow your business. I've been top AI, top entrepreneurship, and startup voice. I've been featured on the news and that helps position me as a go-to person with using AI for business growth. Not only that, you can collect what's called social proof or testimonials from people that engage with you. So when you get to launch, when you get to market and to the sales, you already have this information to help you build that trust, because social proof is critical in building that trust. So my question to you, can you imagine what it would be like if you do more of what you love, make the impact that you want, and still have time to spend with loved ones? I'd love for you to put, would that be a possibility for you in the chat? And if so, what would you do with that extra time? I'd love for you, our takeaway from today is that technology is here to help us. We can use it to become high touch business. And that's a huge differentiator, because every customer will feel special and they will come to you to solve their problems instead of others. And leveraging AI is a very powerful tool and strategic way to make an impact in the world while growing both your income and your freedom. And with that, I'd like to invite you to join us for the AI for Business Growth community. You can scan this barcode for more information, and you can reach me at Nadia Boutaoui at nanonares.org or on LinkedIn. That's where I'm present most of the social media platform, my go-to social media platform. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thank you, Nadia. That was so incredible. Such a great overview, and the examples were just super helpful.
Thank
I know
you.
a lot of entrepreneurs will definitely be thinking about implementing these strategies for their own customer discovery process. So just thank you so much for going into so much detail. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, we have some questions coming in the chat. If you want to stop sharing your screen, we'll share that
Sure.
information and we can kind of do like a Brady Bunch. Um,
Sure.
So you mentioned this. I love this example you kind of used about like doing mock interviews kind of with Chat GPT. Can you talk a little bit first about like I think some people don't really know what Chat GPT 4.0 is and then maybe talk about like the capabilities that come with that and how you could actually do a mock interview because I think some people are a little bit unfamiliar with this new ability that the technology has.
Absolutely. So with the Chat GPT 4.0, O for Omni, meaning it has multiple capabilities. The first one was text mainly, and then text to image with DALL-E 3. Now it's with voice also. So you can talk to Chat GPT and at the same time say, act as an experienced uh, mentor in startup customer discovery and train me on how to perform these customer discovery interviews. What questions do I have? What question do I ask? And so on. I'm a complete beginner. Remember, always set the stage to where you're at. This way it gives it a benchmark. And in that case, it will give you questions about, and then you can answer. It will ask you questions, it will answer and ask you questions back, and you answer. So it's almost a real person, but it's a chat bot that speaks back with you. Yeah.
That's so awesome and really love, just that those capabilities are becoming available. As I know ChatGPT is so widely used just due to its open source platform.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
uh that's awesome. And I think definitely makes a difference in the way that sorry about that. Definitely makes a difference in the way that, entrepreneurs are kind of building that customer insight before going into those conversations and even just building confidence, can be so important, going into those conversations as well.
Mhm.
Um, so we have another question here, which, yeah, I think, just a lot of questions about, the application of this kind of technology. So I guess, thinking about these ICPs that can be extracted, how is that then like translatable into, marketing strategies or, connecting with your consumers, in that way?
I think once you get those customer interview insights. If it's over the Zoom, always record them with consent, of course. And then what you can do with AI, or there are other tools also for word cloud and so on, look for trends. Is there a recurrent patterns? Is there, you can do what's called sentiment analysis, for example, to see how painful that is, to gauge some sort of scoring of the pain point and focus on the ones that are painful enough and don't have a solution, an alternative solution for them. And then once you gain enough, about 5 interviews per stakeholder type, like whether it's user, influencer, decision maker, and so on,
Mhm.
you start to see trends. When there is enough recurring trends, you know that your hypothesis is fulfilled. Maybe you can test another iteration. And once you do that, that's the basis of your messaging.
Mhm.
So I encourage you to do what's called a messaging map, meaning now how they're feeling now, how they're feeling in the future, what they're feeling, thinking, and doing. And use like from those customer interviews, keywords or set like their feelings, their thinking, and what they're doing, and then make a contrast to that. What would be in the future if they solve that problem? If my solution solves that problem, how would that make, what value would it bring to them? What would they be thinking? What would they be feeling? What would they be doing? And what would that enable them to do beyond the actual direct impact of your solution? And you take that practically, your sales and marketing copy is based on your customer discovery. And when you speak to somebody in their own language, in their pain points, you're speaking to their pain, you're speaking to what it could be if it's solved, you're positioning yourself as the go-to person to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So not only it informs your product and solution development, it also informs your marketing and your sales down the line.
Yeah. Ah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting how like it really is like I think it just goes back to like when you were talking about like how thinking about this throughout the entire customer journey, like it doesn't stop, it's a long-term process. And yeah, it's so powerful in that way. So I think it's great to just share those examples. And so entrepreneurs can kind of have a, better visualize how that can actually work in their favor.
Yes.
Awesome. So we have another question here that's kind of, also about, applying the technology. This person is saying, they, with their business, encourage creating, testing quantitative hypotheses, and they confirm and reject based on real customer or stakeholder feedback. How can ChatGPT or AI technology kind of be leveraged, for this purpose, and I think this is an interesting question, will the results be as valid as with a real user? I think, that's an interesting question of like how do you really use those results? What do you really use them for?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question. I think one of the less used aspects for AI is in the predictive analytics part, is scenario analysis. Is when you get those customer data, you can de-identify, of course. If you are to use any third party, assume it's going to be public, just to be on the safe side. So de-identify your information, anything that's a proprietary, don't put it on, these AI models. And what you can do is search for commonalities, what's different, and what if scenarios. And there are tools out there where you can do some maps to create, if you're a visual learner, scenarios with different insights, actionable insights based, and then you can overlap on top of that what those stakeholders care about. Because if I take, for instance, the example of healthcare, because my executive MBA is in healthcare, the way your end user could be the physician or physician assistant or patient would be different from your payer, which is the insurance company, or it could be different from the supply chain person or within the hospital system. So you can overlap the different roles and see what they care about and then align what's in it for them, plus the value it brings them. And in doing so, you uncover bottlenecks in the overall system that will inform not only your product development, but your go-to market strategy. Who do you need to engage as you get closer to that go-to market, to your early market? I hope that helps.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's super helpful. And yeah, it's really just, a question of thinking about that process, um sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But I think it's just really, really helpful for entrepreneurs to kind of see how that process can really or how the technology can be used for predictive analysis, and that it can build that insight, going into those conversations. Um, we have another question here. This person, I think this is an interesting question as well. They're kind of asking, ChatGPT is kind of like, potentially trained on like more of like a B2C perspective. So how can you kind of ensure that, for those businesses that are, really B2B, how can you ensure that the insight it's giving you really makes sense, for your business model?
I think when it comes to the priming part,
Yeah.
that's where you set the stage. So, for example, when you're giving it some information about your business, about your services, even price point range, because enterprise, clients pricing would be different from B2C. I think that's where the stage is set, and you can also do some sort of play with act as and different roles within the B2B, whether if it's a purchasing department or if it is a mid-level management, or is it a scientist at the bench, or is it an end user using your SaaS model, SaaS software, and so on. So you act as different roles in that target organization, and then you ask what are their pain points, frustrations, what's in it for them,
Mhm.
what would they lose? What would this enable if they do use it versus not? What is that transformation? So your role is to paint that picture. What is the future look like with your if that problem is solved? And you do that role play for different stakeholders. So you're putting yourself in different shoes and see it from their point of view. I hope that
Yeah,
helps.
yeah, that's super helpful. Yeah, it's like really a matter of like, going into it, like setting Chat GPT or whatever, technology up to really understand who that end who that audience is that you're speaking to, and if that is, a business or another organization, like just making sure that you're really providing that detail that the AI technology needs to under to then project things from their perspective versus
Okay.
just an individual customer. So I think that's really interesting.
Yes.
Um, all right, we have a few more minutes. So if you have a question for Dr. Nadia, please drop it in the chat, or in that Q&A box.
Or we can
But
go to the pre-submitted questions if we
yeah,
are out of questions.
yeah, we're gonna move through to, yeah, we got a couple more questions here. So yeah, I think we got one person here asking, it sounds like ChatGPT can definitely be used for predictive analysis. What other kind of like low barrier to entry tools are out there, that can really be beneficial for entrepreneurs, in that kind of early stage. And maybe some of those are kind of, I know there's a lot of technology where it's like, oh, like there's CRMs where you can just like integrate AI technology or stuff like that. But what are your thoughts kind of on, just other tools out there that maybe entrepreneurs can consider?
Yeah, I always think of the tools. What's the return on investment for a tool? not the purchase price for the tool itself. So for instance, in the case of ChatGPT, it's not the $20 that you pay a month, it's how long it takes you to master and get return on your training. And if people within your organization needs training and onboarding and so on, how long does that take them before you're confident that you can use it ethically to get to your goals and so on? So always consider what's the ROI of implementing a new tool. Personally, my go-to two tools are for market research. I use Copilot a lot because it gives you the sources of your of the information. ChatGPT, if you're creative in terms of the processes, if you have the ability of what's my target and then reverse engineer the steps to get to that target within the do's and don'ts, so you're still using it ethically, I think it's a powerful tool. The key is to embrace your creative side and to remove the blinders. Sometimes we all have those blind spots, and customer discovery is a prime example for that. There may be an opportunity right there, like the gorilla in the room, that you don't see it because we are so focused on our tech, on our solution, on getting our idea to market that we may miss the gorilla in the room. So that's one of them. Another one, I think moving forward, video is a big one in terms of connecting with your audience. So I like Opus Clip in terms of repurposing long form video into shorter form videos. There are tons of tools for onboarding. Also, if you're a visual learner, there are tools that can move your data into a map that you can look for gaps and so on. So for those, a lot of them are on ChatGPT, but there are other tools. But again, I recommend don't be overwhelmed with how many tools are out there. Look for what's your goal and what tool will get me there and still worth the investment.
Yeah. Love that. Like really bringing it back to like that return on investment is so important because yeah, I think it can get so overwhelming. There's so many tools out there and it's like, oh my God, I have to look through all these tools, figure out which one is really the best. And it can feel like a big undertaking. So yeah, I think really just, keeping focus there is so critical. Awesome. I think we have time for one more question. And so I wanted to ask, I love how you kind of, specifically emphasize like the ways that, AI won't necessarily replace us.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just ask, how can entrepreneurs, really make sure that they are, balancing these AI-driven insights with the human intuition and expertise that really comes with, leading a business and strategic decision making. So, you're not relying too heavily on AI insights and you're still listening to your customers. Like, where do you kind of draw that line?
I think I wouldn't call it artificial intelligence. It's intelligent augmentation. It can augment our capabilities, do things faster, but always have the human element to it. Because these models have been trained on what's existing on the internet. And there are already embedded biases there that are even more exacerbated, especially if there is, for instance, if I take an example of tools that predict skin cancer, for example. They were trained on mainly Caucasian population, and they were not as good in predicting skin cancers in African Americans and in Asians populations. So always have the human expert check the output. That's why in that exercise I said 5 minutes for brainstorming and 5 minutes to go over it. It's 50-50. This way you can mitigate that bias if you are within the language, the model development itself, make sure you have diversity at all levels, including the programmers, the engineers that are developing these tools, because this will mitigate that bias towards the dominant group and always have that transparency. So if there is a problem, there will be a third party that can verify, and always have a human expert check the output. There was this example of I know a lot of your folks are in the SaaS and fintech and so on. So I think this example will be relevant to them. A few years back, Apple with Morgan Chase, they got a credit card, new credit card, and a couple got the same credit card. They were physicians, both physician, male and female, and the wife got 20% less credit worthiness on the same credit card from the same company because the decision was made on historic data. And in many cases, women make 80% on the dollar. And therefore, her credit worthiness was 80% compared to her husband, even though they're both physicians, both making similar salaries. So there is always this embedded bias, and it can be mitigated with having that human expert check the output.
Yeah, love that. So important. Thank you so much, Nadia. It's been such a pleasure to have you here with us today to talk about AI in customer discovery. If you had just one key takeaway that you wanted to leave with the audience, what would that be?
I would say AI is the electricity moment in history. It's here to stay. Learn how to leverage it for your everyday life, not just in business, and learn how to use it ethically because you can follow, but you have a great opportunity to lead. So lead, don't follow.
Love it. Nadia, thank you so much on behalf of the Nasdaq
Absolutely.
Entrepreneurial Center. We're just so happy you joined us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And if people would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can find me at Dr. Nadia Boutaoui, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them after this seminar.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll share all those links to connect with Dr. Nadia after and in the chat right now and following the event. Thank you all so much for joining us. You can look at upcoming events using the link that's going to be posted in the chat. And we look forward to welcoming you back online with us soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.